Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored and humbled to stand before you tonight. The land of the Mississauga Nation, the Wadenoshaani Nation, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat. I came to this country with a clear sense of what I would say, commemorating the victims of all genocides, past and present. Because the genocide that the Palestinians are experiencing on their body, that Dr. Dorothea and Dr. Salman saw with their own eyes, it's something that is probably a more sophisticated and sadistic form of something that has happened in the past, that has happened in this very country. Many of you stand in solidarity with me, and you see me and you express appreciation. But trust me, it's not false modesty, I really mean it. I'm doing what I have to do. And I know that through me, I hope that through me, you see the millions of Palestinians who have paid with their life. The very fact, the very responsibility of just belonging to their land. I keep on saying here, thinking of the First Nations and thinking the indigenous people here and elsewhere and in Palestine. The land to indigenous people is not the place where they live, it's who they are. And the Palestinians are paying the price just for belonging to the land that another people, for whatever reason, claims its own by divine decree. But what has God to do with this? Is there any God that can justify the slaughter of children, mothers, fathers, the rape, the torture, the humiliation, the devastation, the destruction that the people in Gaza and in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, they're experiencing? Because let's be clear, a genocide is not selective. A genocide is the determination to destroy a people in whole or in part as such. This is the legal definition of genocide, which is even narrower than what a genocide really is, because as the indigenous people of this land know, and the Palestinians know, and people of Latin America know, and the people of the United States know, and in Africa know, genocide is destructive of anything and anyone who belongs to the land. This year, I've become a chronicler of a genocide. I didn't want to, I was not prepared to, I didn't even see it coming, to be honest. Early October last year, I had colleagues of mine saying, you need to speak out, it's a genocide. I said, no, I mean, how can we talk of genocide? And then this colleague of mine, who's Lebanese, told me, what a deception. You Western people wouldn't recognize a genocide if it was a truck about to hit you in the face. Yeah. And it took me just a few days of reading, in fact, of talking to people who have been victims of genocide to understand. And then Since then, it has been a daily watching of a genocide unfolding, no matter how many times I've denounced it. That doesn't matter how many words I've spent to write about it. In March, I already said that there are reasonable grounds to believe that Israel has committed acts of genocide, killing, inflicting pain and severe pain and mental harm, and creating conditions of life that would lead to the destruction of the people in Gaza. I even said, look, Israel is not denying what it's doing. Israel is capsizing international law. It's saying that what it's doing, in fact, is justified by the law. How so? It's calling it self-defense. Now, you don't need to be a lawyer to know that this is not self-defense. This is something else. And it has designated all the people in Gaza as either terrorists or associate to terrorists, or human shields, collateral damage. And everything has become, from hospitals to schools to mosques to universities to even arable lands and bakeries and electricity grids, everything has been targeted as Hamas infrastructure. And this is how Israel has turned Gaza into a place without civilians, into a place where everyone is killable, everything is destroyable. And this is the end of humanity, for sure, but this is also the end of international law, of the system we have had that frankly has protected us, Western people first and foremost. Because for 75 years, with the parenthesis, the genocidal parenthesis of Bosnia-Herzegovina and the conflict in Ireland, which also has a settler colonial dimension, we shall not forget. But apart from it, we have lived in peace, not the global south, not other countries. So for us, this system has meant stability, security, and we will miss it when it's no longer there. And it's being destroyed as we speak. Today, Lebanon is experiencing the same script that the Palestinians in Gaza are experiencing. And I mentioned before, it's not just the Palestinians in Gaza, because since October last year, Israel has imposed the same devastating techniques against the Palestinians elsewhere, everywhere under its military control. It has killed 700 people, including 170 children in the West Bank. It has advanced the largest land grab in 30 years. It has forced 20 communities to pack their things and go to leave their homes, to leave their land. Communities who have lived, trust me, in the rubble. The South Hebron Hills, an area that for 20 years has been tormented by continuous attacks of soldiers and settlers. The Palestinians have been living in caves in order not to leave the land that remained. They are being forced out as we speak. And the northern West Bank has been bombed, under siege, has been designated as a mini Gaza. So we should recognize why this is a genocide. It's an attack, a destructive attack against the entirety of the people, in the entirety of the land, through a totality of crimes and conduct. And we have failed as a society, as a global society. But let me, as I move toward the end of these initial remarks, I want to spend a few words on this country. I came here with a clear sense of what Canada is doing wrong, the legal obligations that Canada has and it's not abiding by, the clear provisions of international law that Canada is violating, because Canada has an obligation not to aid and assist in any possible way. Israel's unlawful occupation and apartheid regime. You see, I saw, really until today, until I sat finally welcome by the traditional custodian of this land. It was one of the most beautiful moments I've had this past year. It was a moment of grief, of acknowledgement, of welcome. Do you think that it really matters that a few officials didn't have the courage to meet with me? Huh? Habibi, I cannot hear. Maybe later. But I want to share something. I'm still overwhelmed by what I'm learning. But hopefully, I will manage to put everything in a rational and comprehensible fashion. There is no question that Canada is responsible for the ties, diplomatic, political, economic, military, and financial ties that it has not broken. So all the lawyers in these countries should be activated against this, first and foremost. But there is more. This country, in this country, there are people, individuals and organizations who are selling Palestinian land in the West Bank. They should be held accountable. Justice starts here. And there are Canadian citizens who have been fighting or who are still fighting in the Israeli occupation forces. Let's stop calling it IDF, please. There is no defense in there. It's an occupation army. There are Canadian citizens living in the settlements. They should be held accountable whenever they return to this land. And there are Canadian people, without knowing, they are contributing to maintain, to feed, to nurture the unlawful occupation. How so? Because there are many businesses and pension funds and banks that are making investments in the occupied Palestinian territory. This must end. Justice starts here. And here it comes, the last two things, in fact, that I wanted to say. There has been a lot of silencing of critical voices in this country as well. Students who have really held the ground for justice. My respect goes to them. Many of them here, as well as in other settler colonies, in the United States, in Australia, or in the land where colonialism sprouted from, Europe, in Germany, in France, in my own country, Italy, in the UK. Freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of expression, all of a sudden becomes in danger. If you stand in solidarity with Palestine or for justice in Palestine, you get punished. Doesn't matter who you are. Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, doesn't matter. Palestine is the exception, something you cannot stand in solidarity with. So here we are. We need to address racism wherever it is. And I'm really privileged and proud to have a source of inspiration and a source of learning and teaching, Dania Majdi, here. Because I was 10 days into, yes. Because I was 10 days into my mandate when someone, a common friend and lawyer, Palestinian-Canadian professor, Ardim Seyis, called me and he said, Frenchie, there is something you need to be alerted on. Anti-Palestinian racism is a very specific form of racism. It's often confused with Arabophobia, Islamophobia. No, it's something more. It targets the Palestinians because they're Palestinians, their identity, their nationality. They're standing in solidarity with the people while they are butchered. And this is to be addressed here by all of you, because this is a responsibility of every citizen, every brother and sister that the Palestinians have. And I want to acknowledge the important work that in this country is made also by Jewish people that don't sit idle. With what Israel's settler colonial project, supported and funded and defended by other settler colonial states like this one, is doing. And here comes the last point. I thought, coming to Canada, that this was a country honestly engaging with its past, reckoning with its past. And here it comes, no, but I had no idea of how repressed and oppressed and offended the indigenous people in this country are. And this is the challenge ahead of us. We cannot stand in solidarity with Palestine or with Sudan or with any other places from this land if first and foremost we do not lend our arm to the indigenous communities here. Because it's true, it's not rhetorical. No one is free until everyone is free. Thank you. Shukran.